Hello and welcome back to Budget WoW, where today we're going to be ranking all of the Start Collecting boxes for Age of Sigmar based on value. So leave your Vanguard boxes at home, buckle in, and let's get started. So as you're probably aware, the age of the Start Collecting box for Warhammer is coming to a close. Games Workshop has slowly been killing off the old Start Collecting line in favor of their new starter sets, Vanguard for Age of Sigmar and Combat Patrol for Warhammer 40k, which are slightly larger Start Collecting type sets that run for quite a bit more money. Seeing as we're kind of coming to the end of an era, if you will, I thought it would be fun to pay homage to the old Start Collecting line by ranking all of the Start Collecting sets for Age of Sigmar, and we'll be talking about which of these are still a good pickup today, many of them are, and what's going to give you the best value for your money, as well as the best models to get on the tabletop. So let's get started. So as always, I wanted to quickly orient you to how I do tier lists. I'm going to be including every Start Collecting box, including some of the weird old ones that I could still find. There may be an obscure one that I missed. I very nearly missed one of the Daughters of Khaine, which I'll acknowledge in just a little bit. No Vanguard sets for now. This will be strictly the Start Collecting line, although we will be looking at the Vanguard sets likely at some point in the future once there's a more complete range. I'll be ranking based on three categories. First and foremost is value. The Start Collecting line on average has a savings of 35%, and most of the boxes fall pretty close to that. That's going to be our benchmark for a solid B in savings. We'll be ranking based on aesthetics. How new are the models in the box? How do they look? How are they to paint? And then we'll also be talking about gameplay, of course. For this particular video, we'll be looking both at what you get on the table as well as the points. How far along does this get you towards a playable army? The average points value of these boxes is 548 points. We'll also be looking at the versatility of the box. How many options do you get in the box, and what is the multiples potential? Would you want to buy multiples of each box? And starting off with Order, which has a decent number of Start Collecting boxes, actually represent the most of the Start Collecting line with 12 kits. Okay, and starting off with Anvilgard, this is one of the two Cities of Sigmar Start Collecting boxes. It currently retails for $110 on the GW website, and you can find it at many retailers for a discount of $93.50. Savings total based on MSRP, 38.6% when you look at the cost of buying each of these figures individually, which is really good. You could argue that they're charging way too much for these older models, but this is one of the better savings you're going to find, which is why I give it an A- for value. Aesthetics wise, I give it a C+. These are older models. It's not really to my taste, but as far as these older Warhammer Fantasy models go, I think these ones, for the most part, hold up quite well, especially the foot soldiers, the privateers themselves. Now, gameplay-wise, this box is pushing you towards the Scourge Privateers keyword of Cities of Sigmar, the Anvilgard city. And what I like about it is very focused. It's pushing you in a very clear direction for your army and what could be an overwhelming faction with lots of options for Cities of Sigmar. You're getting your Black Ark Fleetmaster, which is a hero. You get a Behemoth and the Charybdis. You're getting a fast cavalry type unit with your Scourge Runner Chariot, and you're getting 10 Black Ark Corsairs, which is your bread and butter battle line. It's only 390 points, but there's great multiples potential in this box, and you do have some options to build the Chariot and the Charybdis as a different style of chariot or a War Hydra, respectively, if you so choose.
So as much as I was expecting to dunk on the Cities of Sigmar boxes, Anvilgard lands in the low to mid A tier. But speaking of dunking on Cities of Sigmar boxes, Greywater Fastness is pretty decidedly mediocre as far as Start Collecting boxes go. You can still buy it and it runs for $110. They increased the price recently on Games Workshop. You can find it at a discount for about $93.50 from different retailers. savings only of about 32-33% compared to buying the contents individually from Games Workshop. But you're only getting 350 to 400 points depending on how you build the contents of the box. For those reasons, I give it a C- for value, C- for aesthetics. These are older models. I think the dwarves hold up. I think the gyrocopter looks a little goofy for personal tastes. Gameplay wise, it's kind of eh. I haven't seen these guys being run. That being said, I don't play against Cities of Sigmar very often in my local meta, but you just don't hear a lot about the old dwarves. You do get 2 heroes, which is nice to see, a Warden King and a Cogsmith, and then you can build the battle line guys kind of 2 different ways, either as Iron Breakers or Iron Drakes. Same with the copter, you can build it as a gyro bomber or a gyrocopter. Um, Probably a good pickup if you're really dead set on the old school dwarves or playing this particular subsection of Cities of Sigmar. Otherwise, probably a pass. And for that, I put them squarely in the C tier. Daughters of Khaine had 2 quite similar start collecting boxes over the years. I'm going to talk about them here as kind of a package deal because they're pretty similar value and contents overall. The main difference being the newer one, the one on the left, comes with the snakes, the Melusai Blood Sisters or Stalkers. The other one came with Witch Elves. Both of these boxes are centered around the Cauldron of Blood, which is a neat kit because you can build it a number of ways. You can build it as a Cauldron of Blood or a Blood Rack Shrine, and depending on how you build it, you get the other heroes on foot. So you can get a Hag Queen, a Slaughter Queen, a Blood Rack Medusa, your Avatar of Khaine. You get a lot of options for both the foot heroes and the hero up on the shrine itself, which makes this really very solid box. I like the flexibility and versatility. However, it's not as good of savings as some of the other boxes out there. It's a little below average at a 32% savings when you compare the old MSRP, which is pretty close to what you can find it for these days, to buying these models individually. It does get you a clean 750-ish points overall. So quite strong on the gameplay side. The aesthetic of Daughters of Khaine is not for me. These models are older. The T-posing avatar of Khaine really doesn't do it for me. So I may be a little biased against this set just because I'm not a huge fan of Daughters of Khaine, but overall it's very solid. Overall, it's a pretty great box. I give it a high B rating. Okay, next up is Start Collecting Fyreslayers, and if you've seen some of my other videos on the channel, you know I love this box set. I think it's one of the best. Why is it the best? It has a Magmadroth kit in it. The new Vanguard set, which replaced it, does not. It comes with a bunch of Volkite Berserkers and 1 hero, whereas this comes with a Magmadroth set as the core of the box. What's so special about the Magmadroth set? Kind of like the Blood Rack Shrine, you're getting 3 heroes for the price of 1. You get a Rune Father, a Rune Son, and a Rune Smiter, and you can mount 1 on the Magmadroth, and the other 2 are on foot. So I love this set because you're getting 3 heroes, you're getting a behemoth, you're getting a battle line unit, 750 points worth of stuff. And if you can find it for close-ish to the original price, it's 50% discount compared to the current prices of buying the Magmadroth and the Volkite Berserkers on their own. Aesthetics-wise, I give it a B. The Fyreslayers army, I think the Magmadroths look great. I think the rest of the units look a little samey. Gameplay-wise, yes, you could easily buy 1, 2, 3, even 4 of these boxes, and it could save you quite a bit of money. And as you may have guessed, I put Fyreslayers in the S tier, one of my favorites. Next, we'll talk about the Idoneth Deepkin Start Collecting box. This is another discontinued Start Collecting box, fairly recently replaced by a Vanguard set. Unlike Fyreslayers, the Vanguard set for Idoneth Deepkin is actually very similar to this. They just added the shark, and I think they switched out the hero. This is a very solid Start Collecting box, however. Ran for $85. Currently, you can still find it for about $80 from online retailers, which is a pretty good deal. A savings of about 40%, and you're getting roughly 450 points worth of stuff, which is pretty standard for start collecting boxes. And it follows the typical start collecting box formula they were using for a while. You get a hero, you get a battle line unit of 10 infantry dudes, your Namarti Thralls, and then you get the Kellyan Guard, which is like a cavalry unit. And these are all solid. Idoneth Deepkin is another army with a pretty small range, and you could easily pick up a couple of this box to start out with the core of your army while getting a good discount. I give it an A for value, A for aesthetics. I think it's a fantastic looking army all around, and these are all newer models. A for gameplay as well. These are all solid, usable things, especially when you're starting out. Very solid start collecting box. I put it in the A tier. Next is Kharadron Overlords, and this is an example of a start collecting box that is actually starting to take a little shape over time with the new additions, and is a little better now than perhaps it was in the past. One criticism of this box when it first came out was it didn't come with any battle line. You didn't get your Arcanaut company. However, since that time, most of the units in this box have become battle line if of some sort. You get an Endrin Master as your hero on foot. You get the Grunstock Thunderers or the Grunstock Gunhauler, and then you get a unit of Sky Wardens or Endrin Riggers, just depending on how you choose to build them. So there's a little bit of versatility here. So it's nice you kind of are getting a little of everything to play KO. You're getting the smallest of the sky vessels, you're getting some of your flying units, and then you're getting some guys on foot. Value wise, you can still buy this box. They raised the price to $110. You can find it discounted for $93. Savings 41%, which is very good. That is well above average for these boxes, and you're getting 500 points in the box. Aesthetic wise, I don't love Kharadron Overlords. I don't like the steampunk spheres all over the place vibe. But if you do, they're new sculpts, quite detailed sculpts, just not my cup of tea. Gameplay wise, I think it's solid. There could be more synergies. The hero you get can repair the ship. The flying guys would actually become battle line if you're if the Endrin Master was the version of the Endrin Master who also flew, but it's not. So that's a little bit of a miss in my book. But all in all, very solid box set. And I put this one up in the A tier as well. Okay, next is the Start Collecting Seraphon. This is, of course, being the Saurus focused box. You can still pick this up on the Games Workshop website for $95 or at a discount from other retailers for about $80. The savings is pretty average, actually a little below average at 34%, and the points also pretty average at 485. For those reasons, for value, I give it a B-. Aesthetic, I also give it a B-. The Saurus Warriors and Saurus Knights in particular are showing their age as some of the older Warhammer Fantasy contents. Also, just so you know, advertises 21 miniatures in the box, but you're getting 5 extras. You get 12 Saurus Warriors and 8 Saurus Knights. However, these are running units of 10 and 5. So extras I don't really mind so much as compared to not having enough units to field a full unit like they were doing with Soul Wars and some of the other boxes we'll talk about in a minute. And if you buy 2 boxes, for instance, you then will have 3 units of Saurus Knights rather than 2. So there can be some upsides to that. Gameplay wise, the Carnosaur is really kind of the coolest pickup in the box. It's a hero, it's a behemoth, and there's kind of 2 ways to build it. You can build an Old Blood on the Carnosaur, or you can build a Scar Veteran on Carnosaur, and frankly, they look pretty similar, so however you build it, you could probably just tell your opponent what you're running it as and use it as both. The Saurus Knights and Saurus Warriors are pretty standard infantry and cavalry battle line units, so good to have around. Overall, a solid box. And I put it in the B tier. And arguably the better of the 2 Seraphon boxes is Start Collecting Skinks. This one goes for $110 on the Games Workshop website currently. You can find it at a bit of a discount as is standard. and 36% savings compared to buying the units in the box individually. 560 points worth of stuff. I give it a B plus for value, B plus for aesthetic. Models, again, some of the older models, but I think these ones hold up perhaps a little bit better than the Saurus Warriors and Knights. And that Skink hero looks pretty amazing, the Star Priest. Gameplay wise, the Skink Star Priest is a great hero. You're getting 12 Skinks, so a unit of 10 plus 2 extras. And then Kharadron Raiders and a Bastilodon, which of course can be built with either the Ark of Sotek or the Solar Engine, so you get a little variety in your choice there. All in all, very solid box. You're getting that exciting 1-up save on the Bastilodon. Skinks are quite powerful. The Kharadron Rider is a little plus minus, but who knows? They might be more powerful in the future. Great box all around. For that, I put Skinks in the B tier, just above their Seraphon cousins. And how could we talk about Age of Sigmar without talking about Sigmar's own Sigmarines, the Stormcast Eternals? This is the Thunderstrike Brotherhood Start Collecting box, which is just the Stormcast half of the first edition launch box that pitted Stormcast versus Khorne. This is a nice thing Games Workshop did, actually repackaging this as a Start Collecting box, and it's still a very good value. You can still buy it on the Games Workshop website. For $85. You can find it at a discount for $72 for an extraordinary savings of 60%, which is about as good as you're going to find for any Games Workshop product. You're also getting 1,000 points almost in the box, with one heavy caveat. There's one unit in the box, the Retributors, that is undersized, which is really annoying. You only get 3 Retributors when you need 5 to field a full unit. So you would have to buy 2 of these boxes or find some on eBay to fill them out. Very annoying. The rest of the units are full size. You get a Lord Celestant on Dracoth, Lord Relictor, a priest, so 2 heroes, which is nice to see. You get 3 prosecutors, which got quite the buff in the latest edition with the way they can spread out across the table and still maintain coherency. And then you get 10 liberators, which you could run as a big unit of 10 or 2 units of 5. Pretty standard Stormcast battle line. One of the weaker options recently, but if you're getting into Stormcast, still might be a good idea to have some around. Especially you never know which, with the huge Stormcast line, what's going to be strong in future editions. Overall, S plus for value. This is the biggest savings you're going to see on any of these boxes. B minus for aesthetic. I like the Stormcast-ish. They're not my favorite army. The older Stormcast are not the best looking Stormcast models they put out, but they hold up really well. They're all nice new sculpts. Gameplay wise, give it a B. Largely because of the problem with the Retributors, and then you're getting kind of varying strengths of the units included, but a very solid starter army if you're looking to start Stormcast Eternals. That said, I would recommend picking up a Dominion box if you're looking to pick up Stormcast Eternals and watching this video in 2022. For the same price, you're getting more and more recent models, but very good Start Collecting box overall. And given that it's the best value of any of the Start Collecting boxes we'll be looking at, and Dominion is not a Start Collecting box, I had to put it in the S tier. Next is another Stormcast box, Stormcast Vanguard, and this is another very solid box. You're getting some very cool models in this box. You're getting the Lord Aquiller, the Vanguard Hunters, Vanguard Paladors, which are your cavalry unit, and then you get 3 Gryph-hounds, which is another annoying undersized unit. You need 6 to run a full unit, so you'd have to buy 2 boxes or find more Gryph-hounds. For some reason, Games Workshop has this weird habit of like scattering stray Gryph-hounds in different sets. But this is one of those weird instances where there's nothing you can do with them unless you have 3 more. That said, it ran for $85. Currently, you can find it for more like $95 if you're able to find a box. Savings, if you do, is about 43%, which is above average, well above average. And 650 points in the box, which is also above average, with the caveat that the Gryph-hounds are undersized. Great aesthetics, though. The Vanguard section of the Stormcast have historically been quite powerful. You're not getting the Raptors with the long strike crossbows, which are the pretty bonkers long range unit that they have. But the stuff here has some neat tricks. It can all kind of teleport around the field, which is a strong ability. So pretty solid if you're looking into getting into this aspect of the Stormcast army. And for that, I put the Stormcast Vanguard Start Collecting box, not to be confused with the Vanguard starter boxes in the A tier. Lastly, finally, we see an instance where Stormcast were not the poster boys of GW or good value or good boxes. This is the old Stormcast Eternals box. This box is terrible. It ran for $85, and currently you can pick it up for $90. I don't know why you would when the other box is available. This is a strictly worse version of the Thunderstrike Brotherhood box. The savings is only 3% compared to buying the contents of the box separately. And to add insult to injury, the Retributors in this box, you get 2 instead of 5. So I guess if you bought this in the Thunderstrike box, then you would have a perfect 5 Retributors. But unless you're finding this for like a good deal somewhere, I wouldn't get it. You're not saving anything. The units in the box, there's nothing particularly special about them compared to the other box. The Lord Celestant is just on foot instead of on a mount, which is generally worse. Cheaper, of course, but not a good box. For that goes in the F tier. Not to be outdone is Start Collecting Sylvaneth, widely considered one of the best start collecting boxes in the game. It's still available on Games Workshop for $95. Represents a saving of about 35%, which is slightly above average. For that, I give it a B+ for value. And inside the box, you're getting about 600 points worth of stuff. I put an asterisk there because you're getting extra dryads, which again is a holdover from Warhammer Fantasy. One nice thing is that you're getting 16 dryads, so you're getting a unit and a half worth in the box. If you buy 2 of this box, you can then have 3 units of dryads to run however you like. On top of that, you get the Branch Witch, which is a wizard, and then you get the Tree Lord versus Tree Lord Ancient versus Spirit of Durthu. The latter 2 options, which are quite powerful heroes, and you'll probably want to build your first one as one of those. And that's one of the great things about the set is just the versatility of the different versions of the Tree Lord, which is just a fantastic looking model, by the way. Give it an A for aesthetics. I think the Dryads hold up pretty well, and the newer models look great. And S for gameplay, just given you could easily pick up 1, 2, 3 of these boxes if you're looking to get into Sylvaneth and save a bit of money. So Sylvaneth was yet another box that I would put in the A tier. And that does it for order. Next, let's get into Chaos, which has the second most start collecting boxes available with 10 kits. To start us off, we'll talk about Beasts of Chaos. This is a neat box in a lot of ways. It comes with quite a lot of stuff, 22 total models. You're getting a big behemoth in your Cygor or Gorgon, so you have some versatility on how you build it. You can build your Ungors either as Ungors or Ungor Raiders. You get a unit of Bestigors, and you get a Great Bray Shaman, which is a wizard for the army. So there's a lot of stuff in here. Problems come in with the value and the age of the models and the fact that Games Workshop is now charging $110 for this box. It's a 32% savings currently versus buying everything individually, getting average to below average number of points depending on how you build it. Aesthetics wise, you can probably guess what I think about the Beasts of Chaos range. However, I'm not going to say it because I got mad respect to you if you play and like Beasts of Chaos, but the models are old and they're showing their age, and I don't like them. Gameplay wise, I'd actually give it an A- just because you're getting so much and you have some different options in this box. And if you play Beasts of Chaos, it probably makes sense to pick up 1 or 2 of these. Overall, though, I put it in the high C tier. Not quite as compelling as some of the other boxes to me. Next is Daemons of Khorne. This is a neat box. I think it suffers currently from the pricing and just the fact that you're not getting a whole lot in this box. You're getting 3 units. You get a unit of Bloodletters, you get Blood Crushers, which is kind of the cavalry version, and then you get a Herald on the Blood Throne. This box is also no longer available because it's been replaced by Vanguard, and it's actually gone up in price a little bit compared to when it was available through Games Workshop. And you're only saving about 29%, which is below average. Perhaps the worst defense is that this is pretty low on the points compared to other boxes, and you're going to need a lot more than just this if you're looking into playing a Demons focused Khorne list. Now, you probably are going to want to pick it up if you're playing Khorne, but you might want to go for the new Vanguard set instead just to get more Bloodletters in one go. Aesthetics wise, I give it a B. I think the Bloodletters look great. I think the Chariot, and gameplay wise, B minus. You're going to want to have Bloodletters around. The other units you may or may not want to run. And you just need a lot more than this because Khorne relies on summoning, so you're going to have to pick up multiples, and then you're going to have to buy a lot of other things to really get started with Khorne outside of just this box. So I put Demons of Khorne in the C tier as well. And next is the superior Khorne Start Collecting box. It's the Khorne Bloodbound Goreblade Warband. This, like the Stormcast Thunderstrike Brotherhood, is the other half of the first edition launch box, and it's a great deal currently. You can still buy it from Games Workshop for $85. If you can find it at a discount from other online retailers, you can get it for more like $70, which is a really good deal. Even from Games Workshop, the savings is about 60%. I base that because some of the models in this box you can't actually buy on their own, but I substituted similar heroes from the Games Workshop website to come up with this number. However you slice it, value, this is an S+. You're getting 3 heroes, a big monster guy, and then 1.5 infantry units, which I'll get to in a second. Aesthetics wise, I think it looks great overall. Some of the models aren't totally to my taste, like Korgus Cool and the Korgorath. They'll look a little derpy, no disrespect to the Skull Throne, but gameplay wise, I give it a B+. A lot of the things in this box are quite valuable. The Blood Secretor, the Blood Stoker, you can't find anywhere else, and they're very solid support heroes you're going to want to have around. The Blood Warriors, Blood Reavers are kind of bread and butter Khorne Mortals. Problem is the Blood Warriors are undersized. You only get 5, you need 10. So you could buy 2 of these boxes. You might want to consider it, but you will kind of end up with some extras that you could maybe convert or do something with, but I don't know if you're really going to want an extra Korgus Cool or Korgorath, but the other stuff in the box is all valuable to have around. Very solid box, and for all that, I do rank it pretty high. Part of me wanted to put it lower because of the issue with the unit sizes, but I couldn't in good conscience put it lower than the Stormcast box. So I'm going to put Khorne Bloodbound up in the S tier just because of the great savings value and variety you get in the box. Next Chaos box is Demons of Tzeentch. This is another solid box and probably the best Demons Start Collecting box of the 4 Chaos Gods, not counting the Great Horned Rat. $95, it's still available in Games Workshop, and it's 41% savings, which is well above average. And currently you're getting like 860 points worth of stuff. You have a little bit of versatility in the box in that you can either put the Herald of Tzeentch on foot or on the Chariot, and then likewise you could have the Exalted Flamer either on foot or Chariot depending on what you did with the first guy. So 2 hero options, and then you're getting 10 pink horrors, 3 screamers, 3 flamers. Pinks, of course, are being your kind of bread and butter battle line unit for Tzeentch, and then the Screamers and Flamers are both battle line if options. And the one thing you're missing is you don't get any blue or brimstone horrors, so you can't split and split again using this box alone. However, you can always pick up the blue horrors to go along with it, or if you're just getting started, you can run the pink horrors with the other non-split and split again option for running them. This is a box you could easily buy multiples of to get started with Tzeentch and pick up some pretty good savings to boot, and focus in on the demon side of the army, which is pretty cool. And so Demons of Tzeentch is yet another A tier start collecting box. Next is Demons of Slaanesh, which we can't quite say the same about. Still available for $95, but only 24% savings compared to buying each of the units individually. So I give it a D- for value. You're also getting less points, 535. Aesthetic wise, kind of like Daughters of Slaanesh is also not really my thing, but more power to you if you're all about it. I give it a B- though. I mean, the models are pretty cool, just weird, and the chariot I just really don't like. It's like a weird, it's yeah, but the gameplay wise, give it a B-. It's pretty standard. You're getting the chariot, and then you get 10 demonettes, which probably the highest value thing in the box for playing Slaanesh. It's your bread and butter battle line, summonable demons, and you get 5 seekers of Slaanesh. So it's all right. I put it in the D tier. So anyway. Next is Maggotkin of Nurgle, which of course the whole faction is called this now, but they called this Start Collecting box this because they were differentiating between Mortals and Demons of Nurgle, which we'll talk about in a minute. This box is still very solid. It's not available anymore. So it used to be $95. It's gone up in price. The best I could find was about $110. It would have been a 41% savings if you could still find it for $95, which you may be able to at a game store. You get 720 points worth of units, and you're getting some good stuff in here. You get the Pascoil Blight Lords, one of which can be built as a Lord of Afflictions, which is a really good hero. You get Putrid Blight Kings, which are very solid as well as far as battle line goes for Nurgle. The one thing that kind of is not as good in this box is the Lord of Blights. Currently not a very strong hero, but in the future, War Scrolls change. Maybe he'll be better next battle tome around. But you get most of this in the new Vanguard box, and the only thing you're missing out on is the Lord of Blights, which is not very good. So this is one of those rare instances where I would actually say go for the Vanguard box over this. However, all in all, A with a heavy asterisk for value if you can find it at a reasonable price. A for aesthetics for me. I think the models look great, if kind of gross. And B+ for gameplay, mostly because of that Lord of Blights, and you're not getting, as versatile stuff in the box, but it is all pretty focused on Mortals, which is pretty cool. For all of that, and mainly because the box has gone up in price and it's harder to find, I put it in the B tier, although in the past it would have been more up in the A. Next is the Demons of Nurgle box, which we used to run for $85. Currently, you can't find it for less than $100 online, at least. This is another one of those instances where it would have been a very good value if you could find it for $85, almost 50% savings, but hard to find for that price. Aesthetics-wise, I think these models aren't quite as impressive as the Mortals side of Nurgle. I like them, but they're a little, they're they're plague bearers. What can I say? But gameplay wise, this is all stuff you want to have if you're playing Nurgle, especially the Nurglings and the plague bearers for your summons. The Poxbringer Herald is probably the weaker of the three heralds in Nurgle, at least for the current edition. The plague drones are great to have around. Solid selection of units, solid box. This is another box that I probably would have put in the A tier in the past, but given the new Vanguard set and that the price has been creeping up and you just can't find it, I do put it in the B tier nowadays. Next is Start Collecting Skaven Pestilens, the name being a bit of a holdover from when in the early edition of the game they were kind of really splitting the factions by sub-factions. Thankfully they've kind of stopped doing that. Skaven never got another Start Collecting box until the new Vanguard box that was recently released. This box is out of print. It used to be $95. You can currently find it for just about $80. And the savings overall 36-ish%, which is pretty average. Aesthetics wise, the models are old and it shows. I think Skaven haven't been treated the best by the Games Workshop new model making algorithm, but hey, it is what it is. Gameplay wise, it's pretty solid. There's a lot of versatility to this box. You get a Plague Furnace, which you could alternatively build as a Screaming Bell. You get a Plague Claw, which you could alternatively build as a Warp Lightning Cannon, or if you're really creative, you could maybe find a way so that you could use it as both, swap things out with magnets perhaps. And then you get 20 Plague Monks. And this is probably the biggest drawback, is that you're getting 20 Plague Monks, which are only battle line. Used to be only battle line and Pestilens. Now it's a little easier to work them in as battle line, because all you need to do is include a Pestilence hero, the Plague Priest, which you're getting with the Plague Furnace. Another nice thing is you can take the extra Plague Priest or Grey Seer, and with a little a little gusto, you can put it on its own base and use it as a foot hero. So decent box overall. Decided to put this Skaven in the low B tier versus high C tier kind of area. Next is Slaves to Darkness, and just to start, I want to say that this is probably my favorite looking models overall. When you look at everything you get in the box, it's all new sculpts and they all look amazing. I love Chaos Warriors, and these are awesome. So I got a lot of love for this box for that reason alone. It's still around. You can get it for $110 or find it at a discount. The problem is with the current pricing, the savings is not very good. It's only 26%, giving it a D for value in my book. Gameplay wise, I give it a B plus with an asterisk, because this is another one of those annoying Games Workshop decisions that doesn't make sense to me. They didn't include the command options on these Chaos Warriors. They made these awesome new sculpts, and they didn't give you a banner, and they didn't give you an instrument, which is just irritating. It's the same as the Gut Rippers in the Dominion box. I don't know why they do stuff like this, but it is what it is. You can probably kit bash it, which is not something you should need to do, or if you're playing a casual game, you can just tell your opponent, hey, this guy is my banner bearer, whatever. That out of the way, Chaos Warriors and Chaos Knights are always going to have a place in Slaves to Darkness. They're iconic, they're strong. The Chaos Lord and Karkadrak is no slouch in combat either. So overall, solid set, except for the not as good as savings as some of the other ones. All in all, I put the newer Slaves to Darkness set in the C tier. Next, let's talk about the old Slaves to Darkness Start Collecting box. This is kind of an interesting one. It came with a Chaos Chariot, a Chaos Sorcerer, 5 Chaos Knights, 12 Chaos Warriors. Again, another holdover from Warhammer Fantasy. And these are all the older sculpts. They don't look as good as the new one. And the value-wise, it's still not great. It used to run for $85-ish. Now it's over $100 if you can even find it. It's very hard to find. and the value is just not going to be that great, especially with the increased prices. Points wise, pretty comparable to the other one. You know, if you can find it for a decent price, it might be worth it to get your command options on the older Chaos Warriors and get a Sorcerer and the Chariot. But overall, I would just go for the nicer models that are easier to find myself. And for that, I put the old Slaves to Darkness one tier lower in the D tier. Okay, let's talk about Death. And Death only got 4 boxes, so rip. First off, though, is the Flesh Eater Quartz, which is starting off with a bang because this box is great. It's $95 on Games Workshop still, about 32% savings, which is pretty standard. And I'll quickly get this out of the way. I'll say that aesthetics-wise, the models are older and it shows. Flesh Eater Quartz, not my cup of tea as far as like best looking armies out there, but that doesn't matter because they're fun to play and you're getting a lot of great stuff in this box. You get the Terrorgeist, which has a lot of options. You can put the Ghoul King on it, or you can run it as a zombie dragon if you're more of a Soulblight player. And then you get 3 Crypt Horrors, which can also be built as Flayers or Vargheists, and 10 Crypt Ghouls. You're going to want a lot more Crypt Ghouls than that, but you could easily buy 2, 3, even 4 of this box when you're getting into Flesh Eater Quartz and build the core of your army just largely out of these boxes. The best inclusion is really that Terrorgeist. They're very fighty, you know, a very solid piece of the army for Flesh Eater Quartz, and you're getting it right here in the box. It's 710 points, no less, so almost a full starter army just off the bat. So great box. Flesh Eater Quartz probably comes as no surprise in the A tier, widely considered one of the best start collecting boxes. Next is not one of the best start collecting boxes. This is Malignants. This box suffers from age. It doesn't really have a clear place in any of the current armies. It was marketed when it was still available as like kind of for Night Hunt. But the problem is the Mortis engine is not a Night Hunt unit. It's a Soulblight Gravelords unit, so you can't really use it in Night Hunt. You could ally it in, but it's not really worth it. It's not very good. It could also be built as a Bloodseeker Palanquin if you're playing Soulblight Gravelords, which honestly this box might be a better fit for, but then you're stuck with the Spirit Host, which is the same problem. And then you get a unit of Hexwraiths or Black Knights, depending on how you build it. Overall, it was $85. Currently, you can't really find it for less than 100, at least online. If you did find it for its original price, it would be a savings of about 40% in today's pricing world. Probably wouldn't have been the case at the time it was actually available. Aesthetics-wise, I give it a D. These models don't look good. They're old, and gameplay-wise, it's just awkward. And these are all models with the Hexwraith and the Spirit Host have a solid place in Night Hunt, I will grant, but you may as well just buy them on their own, given that you know you just don't need that Mortis engine. So it hasn't aged well. And for that reason, I put it low D tier, bordering on F. Next is Soulblight Gravelords. This box is currently $110, and this is another one of these boxes that contains pretty much all older models from Warhammer Fantasy. It's all right. The value is actually pretty good. Savings of about 38% currently, which I give it an A- for that. That's most of what this has going for it. If you would want these units, it's a good savings. The aesthetic, it's old and it shows. I think the Graveguard with their bat helmets look a little goofy. I mean, it'd be cool to have for like, you know, kind of an old school Dungeons and Dragons, but I just don't think they stack up compared to the new Death Rattle skeletons. Same goes for the Black Knights compared to like Blood Knights or some of the other cavalry units. They're fine. But gameplay wise, you're getting the White King on Steed, 5 Black Knights, which could also be built as Hexwraiths, so there's some versatility if you want it, but you probably build them as Black Knights for Soulblight. And 20 Graveguard. That 20 Graveguard is kind of this box's saving grace. They're strong. You probably want to have some, at least currently. I was kind of surprised when I looked at the War Scroll. They're pretty fighty. But other than that, the rest of the box is kind of eh. Personally, I think Blood Knights are a stronger pick over the Black Knights. It would have been nice to see those in the box. I perhaps generously will put the Soulblight Gravelords in the C tier. You could argue a little higher or lower. Next up is a blast from the past. It's Start Collecting Skeleton Horde. An interesting box, used to be around $95. Currently, you really can't find it online, and if you can, it's very marked up. The one I found was like $278. It represents a savings of about 38% if you can find it for closer to 100, which is a big if, which is why the heavy asterisk next to the A on value. Statics wise, it's old. It's fine. It gains some points because it's got Archon the Black, which holds up in my opinion as a model. Gameplay wise, it's kind of in an interesting spot. You can see Archon the Black is pictured on the cover because this was released before Ossiarch Bone Reapers came out and he moved over to them. But it can also sort of be made as Manfred or Neferata, so still could be a good pickup if you can find one reasonably for Soulblight. And then it comes with your Black Knights or Hexwraiths and 10 of the old school Skeleton Warriors. And while the hero is a great pickup from this box, the rest of it's not great. I put it in a low C tier. And with all those puny factions out of the way, if you've stuck with me this far, we can finally get to the good stuff with destruction. Starting off with Gloomspite Geeyitz, this is not the good stuff. This is actually a pretty bad box, and the price went up recently to $110. You're only saving about 20% on these kits buying it in the box. And add insult to injury, you're only getting like 380 points worth of stuff, and it's not very cohesive. Bad value at D for value. I mean, when I say that for these boxes, it's still saving compared to buying the things individually, but in the setting of Start Collecting boxes, it's not a great value. Gameplay-wise, you're getting Squigs, Troggoths, and a Loon box. Probably not a lot of multiples potential here because you're going to wind up with multiple Loon bosses, which you don't really need. And then you're kind of pushing your army in two separate directions by stacking up on multiples of the Squigs versus the Troggoths. But hey, you could maybe buy two. Aesthetics-wise is where it shines. I think Gloomspite Geeyitz is a fantastic looking army, and I love the Squig models. I love the Loon boss model. Troggoths are a little silly looking, but hey, they're not bad. Gloomspite Geeyitz going to the low D tier. Not one of the better Start Collecting boxes out there. Next is Beastclaw Raiders, which is another great box. It's still available on Games Workshop for $95 and represents a savings of about 30%. I give it a C- for value with the heavy asterisk that this box has a lot of value just because of what's in it, even though the savings is a little below average compared to some of the other boxes. Aesthetic-wise, I give it a B+. These models are older, but I think they hold up better than some of the other ones. Beastclaw Raiders section of the ogres are pretty cool. I like the big, mammoths that they ride around on. Gameplay wise is where this shines. There's a lot of variety and there's a lot of multiples potential with this box. Mainly from that hero in the middle. You can build the mount as either a Stonehorn or a Thundertusk, and then on top of it you can put a Frostlord, a Huskguard, which are heroes, or you can put Beast Riders to run it as just a more of a behemoth, and then you get a Mournfang pack, which is your kind of standard battle line for Beastclaw Raiders. So you can buy like 2, 3, 4 of this box and have an entire Beastclaw Raiders army. It's pretty sweet, pretty accessible way to get into the game, and yeah, I think it's great. And for all those reasons, I put Beastclaw Raiders right up at the top of the A tier. And finally, the moment I know I've been waiting for is IRONJAWZ. It's probably my personal favorite Start Collecting box. Unfortunately, it's not as good of a deal as it once was currently because they jacked the price up to $110. So you're only getting about 30% savings, same as like the Beastclaw Raiders box. But it's still pretty awesome aesthetics wise. If I could let you in on a little secret, I actually I don't think the IRONJAWZ look as good as some of the newer Cruel Boys models, but I've come around to them. I think that the sculpts in this box are really cool, especially the Gore-Gruntas. The Hard Boys are older models of the old Black Orcs, but they hold up decently well, and were kind of the basis of the aesthetic for the whole IRONJAWZ army. Gameplay-wise, give it S+. Probably the best kind of core selection of units they could have possibly put together for IRONJAWZ. You could make a good starter army out of a couple of these boxes. And the key here is that the War Chanter is your like necessary support hero for IRONJAWZ, and you want to have multiple of him. So he's the perfect hero to have in a start collecting box because you could buy 2, you could buy 3, and you could find uses for at least 2, if not 3, War Chanters in your army. So always great to have around. It's a great box. As much as I want to put it in the S tier, it's really more equivalent to the other solid A tier boxes that I mentioned. So I put it at the top of the A tier because this is budget wall after all. But we gotta maintain some level of objectivity here, right? And last but not least is our favorite Greenskinz Start Collecting box. These all got squatted, so you can't technically use these anymore in Age of Sigmar, but most of the models in this box are analogous to Bone Splitters units, and Bone Splitters does not have a box. So I'm actually going to talk about this as if you were going to use it to run the old school orcs as Bone Splitters, which I think would be pretty cool if you wanted to run a army of old school orcs, but just use the Bone Splitters rules for them. I think that would be neat. Or you could do some kit bashing too to do so. Value-wise, it's an F. It's you can find it for about $70 because it's obsolete, I think, is why it's still a reasonable price if you can find it. But it's only like a 10% savings compared to just buying the Bone Splitters boxes. Aesthetics wise, I give it a B-. I got mad respect for our heritage here of orcs, but it is older models. Gameplay wise, I actually give it a B, and hear me out. You get in this box a War Boss on Warboar, which you could use as a Maniac Weird Knob. It's a mounted hero for Bone Splitters. You get a War Boss with a banner, which you could use as your Savage Orc Big Boss. You get a Chariot, which is not really a whole lot you can do, but maybe you could make some terrain or use it for something else. And then you get 5 Orc Boar Boys, which of course you can use as Savage Boar Boys. Then you get 10 Orc Boys, which you could just run as your regular Savage Orcs. So it could be cool if you got a bunch of these, especially if you got them for a good price. You could make kind of a neat little custom Bone Splitters force that's more of an old school Orc force that just uses those rules. So I don't know. It's a thought. Maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but it's a cool box. But when I say it's a cool box, I mean it's cool because the models are cool and old school. But as far as ranking, I put it in the F tier. It's not a great savings, and also it's been squatted. But that wraps up our bulk of the tier list. So here it is. And thanks for sticking with me to this point. And to wrap up, I just wanted to go through my personal top 5 overall picks for the best tier list, mainly because some of the ones I put in the S tier were largely just based on the savings, as I often do, but I wouldn't say we're actually the best for starting an army overall. So in 5th place, we have the Sylvaneth box for all the reasons I mentioned before, followed by Flesh Eater Quartz, followed by Beastclaw Raiders, and then of course IRONJAWZ, and Fyreslayers. So let me know what your favorite start collecting boxes are and which ones you're going to miss the most. Obviously, I may be a little biased towards Fyreslayers because it's gone. If IRONJAWZ was gone, it may have been flipped. Who knows? But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you like this video. Feel free to give us a subscribe and stick around for more value-focused Age of Sigmar comment. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me for this long, and have a wonderful day. See ya.